It was supposed to be the best week of my life. My performance review was scheduled for Friday, and after months of relentless work, I was almost certain I'd be getting the promotion. It meant everything: a better salary, health insurance, a stable future for my son Alex. Then on Monday morning, Alex woke up with a fever of 103. And that's when my mother made it clear where her priorities truly lay. I'll never forget what happened next. It changed everything about how I viewed my family. Hi everyone, I'm Sarah, and I just needed to share this story. It's been weighing on me for months, and I'm hoping maybe some of you have gone through something similar. Please let me know where you're listening from in the comments. It always helps to know I'm not alone in this. The doctor confirmed it was the flu.
Keep him hydrated, manage the fever, and keep him home from school for at least 3 days, she advised. Simple enough, except I had a career-defining week ahead of me. I called my mother, Susan, hoping she could watch Alex. She lived close by and had always presented herself as the doting grandmother. "Mom, I really need your help. Alex is sick, and I have this huge review coming up. Could you possibly watch him for a few days?" There was a pause on the other end of the line. "Oh, Sarah, honey, I wish I could. But your father and I have a golf tournament planned. It's been on the calendar for months." My heart sank. "Mum, this is really important. It's not just any week, it's my review." "Well, maybe you should have thought about that before having a child," she said, her voice sharp. "We all make sacrifices, Sarah. Sometimes you have to prioritize." I bit back a retort.
I was used to these little digs. "Okay, Mom, thanks anyway." I hung up, feeling a familiar wave of resentment wash over me. It was always like this. She presented this perfect facade to the world, the loving, supportive mother and grandmother, but behind closed doors, it was a different story. Desperate, I called my boss, Mr. Seffin. Desperate, I called my boss, Mr. Fifth Thompson. He was usually understanding, but I knew how critical this review was for him too. The entire department's future rested on this. "Mr. First Thompson, I'm so sorry to do this last minute, but my son is sick, and I don't have anyone to watch him. I don't know if I can come in this week." He sighed. "Sarah, I understand, but this is a really bad time. The presentation, the data analysis, the client meeting, we need you." I closed my eyes, feeling the weight of the world on my shoulders. "I know, sir. I'll figure something out." I ended up cobbling together a patchwork of solutions. I worked from home when I could, my focus split between spreadsheets and Alex's fever. I called in every favor I could, asking friends and neighbors to watch him for a few hours here and there. Sleep became a luxury and stress was my constant companion. Against all odds, I managed to make it to my review on Friday. I was exhausted, but I felt I'd done my best. Mr. Studies Thompson seemed pleased with my presentation, but his final words were lukewarm. "Sarah, your work is excellent, as always, but your availability this week was problematic. We need someone who can be fully committed. I'm not sure we can move forward with the promotion at this time." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. All the sacrifices, the sleepless nights, the constant juggling for nothing. That evening, after putting Alex to bed, I sat on the couch, numb with exhaustion and disappointment. My phone rang. It was my mother. "Sarah, honey, how did the review go?" she asked, her voice sickeningly sweet. "It didn't go well, Mom," I said, my voice flat. "I didn't get the promotion." "Oh dear, I'm so sorry to hear that. But, sometimes these things happen for a reason." I didn't reply. "Speaking of reasons," she continued, "your father and I were talking, and we're a little short this month. That golf tournament was more expensive than we anticipated. We were wondering if you could help us out. Maybe a few $100s. I stared at the phone in disbelief. After refusing to help me when my son was sick, after costing me the promotion I desperately needed, she had the audacity to ask me for money.
"You're kidding, right, Mom?" I said, my voice rising. Sarah, don't be disrespectful. We're your parents. We need a little help. Help? You wouldn't even watch your sick grandson so I could go to work. You cost me a promotion, and now you want money from me. We have our own lives, Sarah. You can't expect us to drop everything for you. That's exactly what I expect from family, Mom, especially when I'm struggling. The conversation devolved into a shouting match, filled with years of pent-up resentment and disappointment. Finally, I hung up, shaking with anger and hurt. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the conversation in my head, each word a fresh wound. I realized something had to change. I couldn't keep letting my parents dictate my life, to guilt me and manipulate me whenever it suited them. I needed to set boundaries for my own sanity and for Alex's well-being.
The next morning, I called my parents. I was nervous, but determined. Mom, Dad, I need to talk to you about something, I said, my voice trembling slightly. What is it, Sarah? My father, John, asked, his voice gruff. I'm not going to give you any more money, I said, taking a deep breath. I can't afford it, and frankly, I don't think you deserve it. You've never been there for me when I needed you, and I'm tired of enabling your lifestyle. There was a stunned silence on the other end of the line. How dare you speak to us like that? My mother finally said, her voice dripping with venom. We're your parents. We brought you into this world. And I'm grateful for that, I said. But that doesn't give you the right to treat me like a bank. I need to focus on my son and my own future. You'll regret this, Sarah, my father said. You'll see. We're family. You can't just cut us off. I'm not cutting you off, I said. But I am setting boundaries. I need you to respect my decisions and my life. The conversation ended with more accusations and threats. But I stood my ground. For the first time, I felt a sense of control, a sense of power over my own life. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. A few days later, my Aunt Carol called me, her voice filled with concern. Sarah, honey, are you okay? I just saw this GoFundMe campaign your parents started. They said they're about to be evicted and have nowhere to go. My blood ran cold. I rushed to my computer and searched for the campaign. There it was, a picture of my parents looking forlorn, with a sob story about how their daughter had abandoned them and left them to fend for themselves. The lies were staggering. They were not about to be evicted.
They lived in a comfortable condo paid for years ago. They were not destitute. They had a steady income from their retirement accounts. I was furious. They were using their own family and friends to manipulate me, to guilt me into giving them money. I confronted them immediately. How could you do this? I screamed into the phone. How could you lie to everyone like that? We're desperate, Sarah, my mother said, her voice dripping with false sincerity. We need help. You're not desperate, you're manipulative and deceitful. You're using everyone around you. I reported the GoFundMe campaign, providing evidence of their lies. It was eventually taken down, but the damage was done. Many of my relatives now viewed me as the villain, the ungrateful daughter who had abandoned her parents in their time of need. I felt isolated and alone, but I knew I had to stay strong.
I couldn't let their manipulation break me. Ironically, losing out on that promotion turned out to be a blessing in disguise. It forced me to reevaluate my career goals and to look for new opportunities. I started networking and sending out resumes, and within a few weeks, I landed a job at a different company, a smaller firm with a more supportive culture. The salary was even better than what I would have made with the promotion, and the benefits were excellent. I finally felt like I was on the right track. I was providing a stable future for Alex, and I was surrounding myself with people who valued me for who I was, not for what I could give them. My parents, however, didn't give up so easily. They continued to call and text, begging for money, making empty threats, and trying to guilt me into submission.
I blocked their numbers, but they found other ways to reach me, using burner phones and enlisting the help of distant relatives. One evening, I came home from work to find my parents standing outside my apartment building. "Sarah, we need to talk," my father said, his voice stern. "I have nothing to say to you," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "We're not leaving until you hear us out," my mother said, her eyes filled with a strange mix of anger and desperation. I tried to walk past them, but they blocked my path. "Get out of my way," I said, my voice rising. "We're your parents, Sarah. You can't treat us like this. You're trespassing on my property," I said. "If you don't leave, I'm calling the police." They refused to move. I pulled out my phone and dialed 911.
As soon as they heard me talking to the operator, they finally backed down and left, but not before shouting a string of insults and accusations. I was shaken. I realized that their behavior was escalating, and I needed to take more serious steps to protect myself and Alex. I contacted a lawyer and obtained a restraining order, prohibiting my parents from coming near my home, my workplace, or Alex's school. It was a difficult decision, but I knew it was the right one. I needed to create a safe and stable environment for my son, free from the toxicity and manipulation of my parents. The restraining order seemed to have a temporary effect. For a few weeks, my parents stopped contacting me. I thought maybe they had finally gotten the message. But then, 3 weeks later, I received a call from Alex's school. "Mrs. Johnson, we need you to come to the office right away. There's been an incident." My heart pounded in my chest. I rushed to the school, fearing the worst. When I arrived, I found Alex sitting in the principal's office, looking pale and shaken. "What happened?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Your parents came to the school," the principal said. "They tried to take Alex out of class. They said they were his grandparents, and they wanted to take him for ice cream. I was horrified." "Did they hurt him?" "No, he's physically fine," the principal said. "But he was very upset. He knew they weren't allowed to be here." I hugged Alex tightly, tears streaming down my face. "I'm so sorry, honey," I whispered. "I promise they won't bother you again." I immediately filed a police report and informed my lawyer. My parents had violated the restraining order, and they would face serious consequences. That night, I couldn't sleep.
I lay awake, wondering how I had ended up in this situation. How had my parents become so manipulative and toxic? Was there something I could have done differently? I decided to seek professional help. I found a therapist who specialized in family dynamics and narcissistic abuse. In our sessions, I began to unpack years of repressed emotions and to understand the patterns of behavior that had shaped my relationship with my parents. I learned that their constant need for attention and validation, their lack of empathy, and their manipulative tactics were all signs of narcissistic personality disorder. I realized that I had spent my entire life trying to please them, to earn their approval, but it was a futile effort. They were incapable of genuine love and affection. Therapy helped me to recognize that I was not responsible for their behavior.
I couldn't change them, but I could change how I reacted to them. I learned to set firm boundaries, to assert my needs, and to protect myself from their toxic influence. It was a long and difficult process, but it was incredibly liberating. I finally felt like I was breaking free from the chains of my past. Then, one day I received an unexpected call from my Aunt Carol again. "Sarah, I have some news about your mother," she said, her voice hesitant. "What is it?" I asked, bracing myself for the worst. "She started therapy," Carol said. "She's finally admitted that she has some issues she needs to work on." I was stunned. "Are you serious?" "Yes," Carol said. "She's been going for a few weeks now. She even apologized to me for involving me in the GoFundMe scheme. She said she realizes she's been hurting a lot of people." I didn't know what to say. It was hard to believe that my mother, after all these years, was finally taking responsibility for her actions. "I don't know what to think," I said. "I want to believe her, but I'm also afraid of getting hurt again." I understand, Carol said. Just give it some time. See how it goes. Maybe this is a genuine turning point. A part of me wanted to reach out to my mother to see if this was real, but another part of me was cautious, afraid of letting my guard down and being disappointed again. For now, I decided to wait and see. I focused on my own healing, on my son, and on building a life free from the toxicity of my past. Maybe, just maybe, there was a glimmer of hope for the future. Maybe one day I could have a healthy relationship with my parents. But for now, I needed to protect myself and my son. I needed to prioritize my own well-being and to create a safe and stable environment for us to thrive. I learned that family is not just about blood, it's about love, respect, and support. And sometimes the most loving thing you can do is to walk away. And that's when I realized that sometimes the family you choose is stronger than the one you're born into. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to my channel for more like this.